Okay, let's get started. You can still continue finishing the survey while I introduce my dear friend out here, Daniel. So welcome to our second set of our tracks. We are at the strategic track. This is track 2. Apologies, the room is a bit hot. We like to keep things hot in here. Intentional, no kidding. But Daniel's going to take us through a case study, which is from AI experiments to agentic enterprise, moving beyond point solutions to true transformation. So let's give Daniel, Director Advanced Analytics and AI from BDC, a round of applause. Over to you, Daniel.
Like okay, now okay, so now good. All right, do you guys hear me well in the back? Yes. Okay, so I'm Daniel Capriles. I'm Director of Advanced Analytics and AI in BDC. That's Banque de Développement de Canada, Development Bank of Canada. In the headquarters are in Montreal. It's a bank that have the mission of helping Canadian entrepreneurs to succeed. So it's a good, I think it's a good organization to work with. And I've been there for the last 3.5 years. And in the last 3.5 years, I have been working on building the AI foundation, building the AI program, and I am going to talk about it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the past and a little bit about the future. And then in that story, you'll find a little bit of pieces for you to learn or to reflect about what to do in terms of making things successful. So let's start. So the story is called From AI Experiments to Agentic Enterprise and Moving Beyond Point Solutions to True Transformation, and we'll understand what that means. So, and we understand by that means by peeling the onion. So what I did is I'm going to have like 3 different parts of this presentation, which each is like a layer of the onion. So let's start in the first layer, which is my AI journey in BDC. So from this slide and from this part, what I want you guys to think about is like, I don't think that anybody's going to see that and it's going to be like, oh my God, yeah, do we have to start with data foundations? The first time I hear about doing data foundation and then machine learning models and then going agentic, and as well as like working hard on having a team that is have maturity and capabilities. It's like once you hear it, it's like, well, yeah, like that sounds very obvious. But I think that this is the type of thing that is like the glass of water or the working out. It's like we know that is something good. We know that is what we should do, but do we do it? It's like, and so then here, it is important to think about that, and we did. We work on our foundation, and we work in this perspective. We work hard on building a very proficient team. And then what happened is that I'm going to talk to you, like it's a 3 years journey, right, that I have been in BDC, but I'm going to talk to you specifically about last year. So what happened last year? So Gartner says that a company should focus around 2 or 3 POCs per year, like big POCs. We're not talking about small things. So our CEO put in our scorecard a target of 15 POCs that had to be medium to big impact. So when I heard that, my reaction was like, that's more than once per month. So we have 12 months in the year, and we have 15 POCs to deliver this year. And typically, you get also your targets like a little bit after you start your year, so you have even less time. So it was scary, but that was our target, right, in terms of quantity. And what happened is, so remember that I started with having a strong foundation, which allowed us to move fast. We have a team that is very proficient, so allow us to move fast. And then we ended up 40% over that. At the end of the year, I was very surprised and happily surprised that we ended up in 20 POCs with the characteristics that were, in order to count in the scorecard of the CEO. So very good news. But then you will be like, okay, Daniel, but probably then you were like cheating there, or things that were not as good. You were focusing on quantity. So they also thought about it, and they put us a target that if Gartner says that 80% of the things that are built in AI don't make it to production, so 20% basically is what is successful and make it to production, they put a target for us of 30%. So 30% of the POCs that we will build had to be approved for scaling and production. And what happened? We made 2.7 times that, and we are more around the 80%. So it's a huge year for us, right? Like we did a lot, but a lot more than the target, and then we had more successful stories than failures, which the failures also you can learn from it, but like the successful you learn and you get something out of it. So it was a very good year. So then you're like, okay, like you did 21, give us some examples. So for today, I brought 3 examples that I thought that could be nice to show. We also did, here the 3 examples are very guided to generative AI and Agentic. However, we also did machine learning, we did explainability, we did other stuff that are also AI, but this probably is what people is more interested, and also is like stories that are easy to tell. So in the right, what we have is like a way that Gartner used to position use cases. So I thought that it was nice and it would be interesting for you to see. On the left is each of the 3 examples that I brought. So the first one is called AI Digital Companion. It's specifically for the account managers. And basically, this is in the external customer-facing and everyday AI. So it's front office. It's not directly talking to clients, but it's used by the account manager when facing the client. So then it's in this quadrant. And what this does is, like the account manager, they have a very hectic life. They have a very big portfolio. They have very little time. But then when they're going to meet a client, they have to go, or they had to in the past, they had to go to 4 different systems. And even when they're navigating the CRM, that should be super easy, they have to go to many different tabs. And then even when they go to the tab, for example, something to prepare for a client is the previous interactions. And they have to double click every previous interaction. So all this process, it could take an hour, it could take 2 hours, like to prepare before a meeting, to have a good meeting with the client, which if you're BDC, you want the account manager to have good meetings with the client, so then they see the value and the advice and everything that we can bring. Because if they come and they're just like, well, I think, like, I'm trying to be, like last minute, it's not the best that we can do. So now, instead of 2 hours, they say, I'm meeting with Daniel, and then it's going to be all previous interaction with Daniel, all the client profile, everything that they need to do that meeting exceptional. And this is going to come in the chat in 30 seconds instead of 2 hours. And also, you get something else, like a cherry on top of the ice cream, which is like in the past, different account managers will have different preparation. They will do whatever they thought it was the best. But here also you bring some sort of consistency in how the account manager prepares. So it's a very important thing, and it's there. We're ready to deliver, and we are ready to scale it. This is being used right now for our Salesforce. So our account managers are using the Digital Companion. The second one is the AI Underwriting Companion, or like now actually have another name, but it is to help the underwriting team to improve the way and the productivity in terms of how they are doing their underwriting. So in the underwriting process, we have the client history and plus client information, business model and financial analysis, liquidity and security, collateral, and environmental. So we focus on number 1 and number 4 first in our POC. And well, client history is very straightforward. We have, like if you were a client, we have in our platform, all that client history is a walk in the park to bring that and make it. It's similar to the first one. It's like bringing the data, putting it together, summarize it, make sure that you're not having hallucinations, that everything is is accurate, is good. So walk in the park, and we're putting that in production this quarter. The environmental is like a report that has like 300 pages, and then you have to sort of answer questions about certain factors, and also have a little bit more complexity. However, we also were successful, but for that one we have to wait to September to put it in production because we need a connection. That data, that report, is not in the platform, but it's in like let's say a SharePoint. So we need like a connection so we can put it in production. But it's there. It was approved, and this one is in core capabilities because it's an operation. It's internal operations, but it's a game changing because it's underwriting is a lot of what we do. And then the third example is in back office and in the legal department. And the point is, the legal department, they will get questions all the time from, most likely from account managers. That is like, oh, this client have this question, or like this is changing in the structure of the company. So how this affect the loan or the legal contract that we have with the client. So again, this legal advisor have to go through the CRM or other systems and have to navigate through a lot of information and spend 20, 30 minutes, 45 minutes to be able to answer the question. Now they get the information also with like a little chat. They get the information in 30 seconds, and then they can answer. In the future, we might make it even more agentic and answer directly the questions to the account manager. However, right now, we're keeping the human in the loop, and it's the professional, the legal person, who is taking the information and then answering. But like I think that the next step is very feasible. So this is on back office. Then let's go to the next layer of the onion, which is the importance of point solution and system solution. And this, I gotta say, it doesn't come from me. This is something that I hear it from some professors from Rutland here in Toronto. There is 3 professors. I don't remember their names. They have a couple of very nice books about AI, and they also present in some conferences, etc. And they came to BDC in some workshops that we were doing, and they were talking about the point solution versus system solution. And point solution is when specifically with AI, is when you have your process, and then you put AI on top of the process just to make it better, faster, more accurate. So what I show you right now in the previous slide is point solution, right? Like I'm not changing the process, and just like in the same process, I adding AI layer that make it easier, better, faster. However, there is system solution, which is like thinking of the capabilities that I have with AI. Can I change completely my structure, my processes, the way I do things, and even do different things because of the new technology? The way they explain it is brilliant. It's like before AI, something that was very important and like a change that created a big change was electricity. So in the past, if you would have a factory, the factory was designed to hold a steam engine, that it was the source of energy, and it was very big, and then the process was not really or the design was not related to the process. So whatever needed more energy, and this is what I'm trying to put here with the big, more energy was closer to the source, and if you needed less energy, you're farther away from the source. So the way it was is like, okay, this step needs a lot of energy, is here. This step needs less energy, goes here. But then you could be moving the thing back and forth because you need more energy, less energy. So then, as you can think now, is like not very optimal. When electricity came, big change, sort of like AI, people, at first, it's not like everybody was like, yeah, this is set. Like now we're going to have all these changes and all these new technologies. But it was about, okay, with the current status and factory and everything that we have, how this can be applied on top. So then people was putting electricity instead of the engine. It was more productive. It was cheaper. So then the factory was saving 5%, 7%, 10% in energy. However, it was just that. That was the cap because you were just putting, like removing the steam, putting electricity. So it was getting a little bit of ROI. However, when people went to a system solution, the change was, for example, Henry Ford. Henry Ford understood that with electricity, then now he can build a factory in which electricity goes, everywhere, and then it's not about clothes and like going back and forth, but in one side you were getting the first all the materials, etc., and things were moving in a line, and then getting out at the end of the line as a car that was built. He reduced the time to build a car around 80%. So right now we are in the point solution in general with AI. However, we need some Henry Fords to start thinking. It's like, okay, by having AI, it's not about how I position it in top of what we do, but how we really change the way we work in this company. So that's just to understand what we should be going, because then the last layer of the onion is about the aspiration. So we're trying to go there. We're trying to find that system solution to really change the impact that we have in our clients. And it's very important because our mission for Canada is very important. It's like really supporting the Canadian entrepreneur to be successful. So then the better that we are, the better that Canada also can be. So in the conversations, what I was trying to really push on, we were having workshop, but as you can imagine, people have been doing the same thing for 15, 20 years. They're trying to focus, no, but we always have focus in this type of client, and how we can do this, it's doing the same but better. And it's no, let's try to open and think about what do we do now, what do you want to do next. So I was coming with phrases or with statements like I show there. So the first one is from selecting who we talk to communicate with every SMC. So right now we have a group of account managers that have limited time. So you cannot talk to everybody. You talk to a limited amount of entrepreneurs, and there's no more you can do. They have a limited hours in the day, and then we talk to a group of clients. That's it. So now with AI, if we would have agentic tools that can talk to everybody, then we can virtually, if everybody want to talk to us, we can talk to everybody. So that is the first part. It's talking to a group, talking to everybody. The second one is, of course, because we have limited time, we don't talk with entrepreneurs from the day they're thinking about opening a shop or a barber shop or a restaurant. We talk to them when they have about 2 years, 3 years in the business. So they have credibility, they have already a cash flow, and then it's well, okay, now we can talk to you because you're bankable, you're a possible client. So then that's the moment we start supporting. But the first day, probably they will have very limited support from us. And let's remember what is our goal as BDC. So it's well, you know what? With AI, maybe we can talk to them from the day -1. What I mean day -1 is before you even have a company, you say, I want to create a company. I'm curious. Let me talk to BDC to know what advice, would be the best industry, or I'm going to tell them my idea, and then they will give me advice. And that will also increase the chances of success of that person. Then is also from having them waiting for answers to answer in real time. It's now, even if you're a client, important client, well, if you send an email and you see your boss send you an email, and maybe you see it 2 hours later, and then 2 hours later you're oh yes, you answer. So right now there is no real time, right? Unless they call and I answer and then we talk real time, there is no real time. So it's now you can, if you have AI, people can talk to you 24/7, real time. Also, if it's a Saturday, a Sunday, it doesn't matter, right? Whenever is, if you like working and you're doing this after hours and it's at 2 a.m. that you can be working and you have questions, go ahead and talk to our chat, and then you'll have answers. So it's a big change. And then also is, because of all this, if you have limited time, you can talk to limited people at a particular time. Probably when you make the effort of talking to somebody, it's not about hey, how you doing? Or, a general. It's also you're going to try to find when is the time that you talk to that person and you can get a product across? Because, like you're a business, so you're trying to be profitable, so then you're gonna have product conversations instead of service conversations because of all those things that we're talking that are constraints and human constraints in terms of the amount of people that you can have, the amount of time that those people have, and the ability to talk to everybody all the time and for everything. So if you see the first 4 things that I have there, is like, well, okay, Daniel, but all that is wonderful, but it costs money. Like, even if you have AI, which is virtually, okay, can talk to everybody, that's tokens. That's gonna be expensive. So what is there for us as a company if we wanna be profitable? So the thing is that if you talk to everybody all the time from the first day about everything they need, what is gonna happen is, as they ask you questions, you're also gonna say, well, in order to answer you better, do you have a financial statement? What is your plan? Where you wanna go? What are your aspirations? Every time, it's just like Google does, or like Instagram. Those big giants, they give you things for free, but they actually collecting data that then they can use to sell you stuff. So then what is gonna happen is, instead of having little data only from our clients like we have now, we're gonna have a lot of data about all the Canadian ecosystem. So you're gonna have a lot more data to work with, which is gonna be, we can monetize it, right? Like data is the new oil for this time. And then the other consequence is like, okay, so we have a lot of data about a lot of people. So now if we are reactive and then they say, I need a loan, and we're like, okay, sure, and like we give you a loan, what should happen in the future is more and more we should get better at being like, we will know what you need before you, which is what you see. Like you're having discussions and you're thinking about ice cream and you pull Instagram and it's like an ice cream ad and you're like, oh my God, like how do, like hopefully we can do something like that, but less intrusive with the entrepreneurs, right? Oh, okay. Then I think this is my last slide, which is like, what time? 4 minutes. Yeah, I gotta rush. So then, okay, that's the plan. So what needs to happen to make it feasible is we're already working in an agentic foundation and governance. And what that means is like, if you're not working on having in your platform an orchestration system, guardrails, MCP, which is the model context protocol to connect the agents to different data sources, security patterns for that could be when a person is connecting, what is that person able to open and see what type of data, but at some point even agents are going to be talking to agent, and when this agent asks for something, does this agent have the rights to see that data? Telemetry, which is also going to be very important to measure like the consumption of tokens, etc. Then is the foundational agents, which is we're democratizing AI to a point that the business is going to be and is already building a lot of little agents here and there. But like there are agents that might be very core for your business. Everybody's going to be using. You don't want 30 different people or 50 different people building the same agent over and over. Is in terms of consumption time and quality probably of those agents are not going to be best. So the people here that is more data, like it seems like everybody's going to be creating AI. So then say, what are we going to be doing? Well, we're going to be doing this. We're going to be building the foundation. We're going to be building foundational agents that are very important and critical, and then building it in ways that are less cost consuming in terms of tokens, and that are very good in terms of quality of the service. And then the business needs to think about the transformation, need to be in workshops, provide ideas, and start a journey on changing completely the way they work. And that, like I ran out of time. We have 2 minutes and a half for questions. Is there any question, something that you're like, oh my God, like I really want to know about?
Well, I have a question. Do you have any POCs that are facing the customer besides?
So last year we did it. So the question was if we had POCs, customer facing. So we did customer facing with the BDL, which is the business development lead account manager, reading what is providing. However, we haven't gone completely customer facing because it's the most risky one. And also, once you put it there, like piloting things internally is very easy. But when you open things externally, it's like very massive. And even McDonald's, which is a huge corporation, when they opened the chatbot, one of the guardrails that I missed was that it was not only answering questions about McDonald's product, but it was answering any question. So then people start seeing it and start using it for coding for free. You know, like, oh, can you give me code? So people who work in IT was like using that, which is not bad in terms of, like it doesn't create any harm for McDonald's, but probably in terms of cost, they spend thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in tokens for no value added for the company. So when you go customer facing, it's very critical. But it's in the plans now with the aspirations that we have is where we want to aim. And I saw like another hand somewhere there. And that would be the last question, I think.
Just a quick one for the companion apps. Was there any A/B testing from internal users that would use it and they won't use it? I'm just wondering what kind of success measures are you going to be following in those companion apps?
So it was a lot of A/B testing. So the A/B testing had different, let's say, angles or dimensions. One was a lot about quality. So it was like having users and trying to break it and trying to find errors. So, and that's what you want to, like, you want to tell them to find issues. So, because they have to prove you wrong, is the safest before you go in production. So it's like testing quality. But also we were testing, some of the success metrics have to do a lot with adoption. So once we were including more groups, we were always tracking adoption to see if people would go and use it as well as repeat the use. It's like, is they use it once and then drop, or they keep using it? So that was, like one of the major successful metrics. Yeah. Okay, we gotta.
Yep. Let's give Daniel a big round of applause. Thanks so much, Daniel. That was a great presentation.